You moved to Osaka because you read a blog post about it at 2 a.m. while your life was quietly falling apart. Back home, you have a marketing degree, a roommate who started dating your ex, and a job at a company that makes software for other companies that make software. You have worked there 2 years. You have received exactly one compliment. It was about your email formatting. You find Japan the way everyone finds Japan, late at night. Browser open. You watch a reel of someone walking through Dotonbori at midnight. Neon spreading across the canal like the city spilled itself on purpose. People moving in every direction with the confidence of people who know exactly where they belong. You watch it 4 times. You tell yourself you are researching. You are not researching. You apply for a working holiday visa on a Wednesday during lunch. You tell your boss you're leaving on a Tuesday. He nods and says, "Okay," which is a complete sentence in the language of a man who never learned your name. You land at Kansai International with 750,000 yen, a TEFL certificate, and the specific confidence of someone who has absolutely no idea what is about to happen to them. Welcome to Osaka. Population 2.5 million. Number of people who care that you just arrived? 0. You find a 1K in Tsuruhashi, the eastern district where the Korean market spills across 3 blocks and the smell of grilling meat follows you down the subway stairs. The bathroom is a plastic unit where the shower, toilet, and sink share a footprint roughly the size of a sensible decision, which means you make none of them comfortably. Rent is 58,000 yen. In Osaka, that is not cheap. That is just the city being honest about your position in it. The job is at a conversation school in Namba called Brilliant English Hub, which is a name so aggressively optimistic it should be illegal. 6 classes a day, back to back, until your voice takes on the texture of gravel. After tax, insurance, pension, rent, and the commute, you have 85,000 yen left per month. That is $17 a day. You eat convenience store onigiri twice a week and call it culture immersion, which is the phrase you use when you are too tired to cook and too broke to feel bad about it. The night shift worker at the Lawson near your apartment starts preparing your usual before you reach the register. He does not know your name, he just knows your order. In this city, that counts as a relationship. The loneliness arrives around week 3, not the dramatic kind. The kind that sits next to you on the loop line and rides to Tennoji and back without once looking over. You meet her at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. You are in the 7-Eleven 2 blocks from your apartment buying a canned coffee and a salmon onigiri because your fridge contains only a bottle of water and a mango you bought optimistically 4 days ago. She is standing at the hot food case holding 2 steamed buns, looking at them with the serious expression of someone making a decision that matters. She picks the left one. Then she notices you watching. She holds up the right one without saying anything. You take it. You say arigato. She says you're welcome in English, no accent, no pause. Completely casual. Her name is Natsuki. She works in graphic design. She lives 6 minutes away. She has never offered a steamed bun to a stranger before tonight and seems as surprised by this as you are. You stand on the pavement and eat your onigiri and talk until the convenience store changes its mop water twice. You do not know it yet, but this is the last good before everything that follows it. Natsuki is not the Japan you imagined when you watched those reels at midnight. She is better than that because she is specific. She has opinions about fonts. She drinks coffee at temperatures that suggest she has made a private peace with pain. She corrects your Japanese once, clearly, and never brings it up again unless you repeat the mistake in public. And then she catches your eye with the expression that means "I told you," which somehow feels like being known. You start meeting twice a week. Ramen in Shinsekai, where the master has cooked the same broth for 30 years and does not take requests. Kushikatsu on rainy Saturdays because she says rainy days are for fried things. By month 2, you stop going home after dinner. By month 3, you are not sure where home is anymore, and you do not look too hard at the question. On a cold Sunday in December, she takes you to the Sento in Sumiyoshi, the neighborhood in the south where she grew up. A squat tiled building on a residential street, older than the surrounding convenience stores, older than most things still running in this part of the city. She says her father came here every Sunday his entire life. She says you should try it at least once. She says it like it is a minor suggestion. The water is scalding, not warm, not hot. Scalding in the way that clarifies exactly who you are and how serious you are about being here. The old men already in the bath do not look at you the way people look at something unexpected. They look at you the way people look at something they are deciding about. There are 4 of them. The conversation moves between them in the rapid Osaka dialect that even your Tokyo coworkers cannot always follow. Then the one nearest the wall looks at you, says something short, decisive. You understand nothing. You bow your head slightly. You say sumimasen in the tone of someone who means, "I don't understand, but I am trying." He nods. Not a polite nod. Not the nod Japanese people give foreigners to move things toward conclusion. A nod like, good enough. Like you answered the actual question, which was never about the words. They go back to their conversation. You sit in the scalding water and breathe steam and feel, for the first time since you landed, like you might belong to something that did not ask you to prove it first. On the train home, Natsuki asks what you thought. You say it was the hottest water you have ever been in. She says yes. That is the point. You do not fully understand what she means until much later, when you are trying to remember every warm thing before the cold arrived. You move into her apartment in Namba. 3rd floor. A window in the bedroom faces east and fills the room with light at 7 a.m., which she loves and which you learn to love because she is in it. She works long hours at a desk by the window on design projects for clients she mentions briefly and never by name. You assume this is standard freelance discretion. You assume a lot of things that turn out to be walls you were living inside without knowing they were walls. You build a life in the apartment. A rice cooker she picks because yours was inadequate in a way she explains specifically enough that you realize you were not previously qualified to own one. A plant on the windowsill she names Hana. Saturday mornings where she makes tamago gohan and you eat it in bed with the window open, and you think about the fluorescent office and the borrowed van, and none of it feels real from here. You love her the way people love things found by accident in foreign countries, completely, without the vocabulary to explain it to anyone back home. She loves you back. You are certain of this. You will revisit the certainty from every angle later. You will not find the place where it wasn't true, because the love was real. That is what makes everything else so precise in its devastation. 9 months in, on a Thursday in February, Natsuki is killed by a delivery truck running a red light near Nipponbashi Station. She has her headphones in. The driver is looking at his phone. The physics of it are brutally simple and completely irreversible. You get the call at 9 p.m. You go to the hospital. There is nothing to go to anymore. The apartment still smells like her when you get home. The rice cooker is on keep warm from breakfast. Her mug is still on the desk. You sit on the floor and stay there for a long time. Grief in a country that is not yours has a texture nobody warns you about. No family. Co-workers whose condolences are warm and also distant, and you do not have the language to bridge the gap. You water Hana the plant because she named it. Her mother comes 3 weeks later to collect her things. A small woman with Natsuki's same precision in her movements. She says something you translate later. She said Natsuki talked about you with the voice she used when something was serious. You hold that sentence for weeks. You are still holding it when the police come back. 2 detectives on a Wednesday morning. They knock at 9 a.m., Economic Crimes Division, polite, thorough, a warrant to search the apartment. You let them in because you have nothing to hide, which is the sentence of someone who did not know what they were living inside. 4 hours. Her hard drives, the filing cabinet in the studio you knocked on once, and she said was client materials, and you never questioned, because that is what you do when you trust someone completely. A secondary laptop behind the monitor you did not know existed. The officer sits across from you at the kitchen table when they are done and explains that Natsuki had been under investigation for 18 months. Her design work was real. It was also a vehicle. Cash-adjacent clients, some connected to an organized lending network in Minami. She cleaned money through invoices. The amounts were conservative, which is precisely why it worked for so long. You ask when she started. He checks his document. 4 years before you met her. He slides a printed message across the table. Translation in the margin. The date is 6 weeks before she died. It reads, I cannot do this much longer. I am going to end it. You stare at the sentence. He confirms the accident was an accident. The driver's phone records, the traffic camera, the timeline, all confirmed. Nothing but physics, and he ignored red light, but you are sitting in her kitchen reading a sentence she wrote 6 weeks before she died, and the city does not do the math for you. You do it alone. 3 days later, a notice arrives from the Osaka Immigration Bureau. Review of residential status. Suspected violation of conditions of stay. You know your record. 9 months of filed taxes, 9 months of employment documents, not one overstayed day. The immigration officer shows you an anonymous report filed 6 days earlier by a Japanese citizen with no prior false claims. The report alleges your peripheral awareness of the financial operation, your presence at the address where materials were recovered. You explain you lived there, that you did not know what was in that cabinet. The investigation itself confirms you appear in none of the recovered communications. The officer is not unkind. This is important to understand. He is not cruel. He is procedural in the way that systems are procedural, which means the outcome was assembled before either of you entered the room. A filed report from a Japanese citizen requires formal review. Your visa cannot be renewed while the process is open. You should prepare accordingly. Prepare accordingly means voluntary departure. It is a foreigner's word against a citizen's filed report. And in that equation, the math was decided before you walked through the door. Not because anyone in that room is a bad person. The system is not cruel the way a person is cruel. It is more precise than that. It simply does not move for you. Your 9 months of compliance sit in a file. The report sits in a file. One was filed by a citizen. Yours was not. That is all it takes. You pack the same suitcase you arrived with. Heavier now because 9 months of a life weighs more than 3 weeks of a plan. You put the Japanese textbook in the bag. Her corrections are in the margins in her designer's handwriting, the same hand that wrote, "I cannot do this much longer." You put it in anyway because her handwriting is still hers. Regardless of everything else, it is now. You water Hana one last time and leave her on the east-facing windowsill. You cancel your phone plan. You close your bank account. You walk to the Lawson. The night shift worker looks up and reaches for your usual before you say anything. You shake your head. He stops. He looks at you in the way people look at something they understand without being told. He puts it back. That is the closest thing to a goodbye you get in this city. You take the Nankai to Kansai International. Window seat. Osaka pulling away. The canal you cannot see but know where it is. The bathhouse in Sumiyoshi, where 4 old men soaked in scalding water and one of them nodded at you like you were something worth deciding about. You land home. Someone hugs you and says they are glad you got that out of your system. They mean it with love. It still lands like a verdict. Nobody asks about Natsuki. The story has too many rooms. You are still finding doors yourself. The apartment relets within the month. The east window still fills the room at 7 a.m. for whoever is in it now. Hana dies on the windowsill in 2 weeks because nobody remembered, because that is what happens to things that depend on a specific person. The old men still go to the bathhouse on Sunday mornings. The one with the crane tiles near the wall looks at the door sometimes when it opens. He doesn't say anything. He just looks. In a city of 2.5 million people, one disappeared foreigner is not a tragedy. It is just a vacancy, and the city fills it before you have even landed. If this one hit differently, drop a comment and tell me which part stayed with you. More stories like this coming. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one.